Little bits and pieces. Yeah, the summer, as far as attendance and stuff goes, I'm not too sure if it's because of my little quirks and not getting things out in time, or if it's just because it's summer. Because I was gonna say Facebook, but I mean Facebook for 1 Million Cups, all that, their kind of attendance is down too. And we were discussing that, and it's funny because the attendance there usually goes down because people are traveling or doing some sort of summer thing. So what's it going down for? Time? What's that? Or if it's just because it's summer. Oh. Because I was gonna say Facebook, but I mean Facebook for one. That was fun. Oh, I know where to get the link actually, but that's okay. So. All right, well, I'm gonna start. So it's already on you on there. I'm gonna record it on this guy too. Where is the recording parts? Security, video, pause, share, resume recording. There we go. And I do the resume recording on my own desktop because I haven't quite put trust into this YouTube process yet. But also it collects the notes in case I forget to collect them. Okay, we're gonna do public. We're doing end screen, playlist, live stream. Okay, here's I can get that guy. And I put it on my descriptions page here. And I'm gonna post it on chat. There we go. And that's that. But something to save me work later is this is not for kids. And we're gonna save it. And then that'll automatically upload and be available. And that saves me like a whole hour, just this little bit here later on. But that's been kind of nice because I've been downloading the Zoom and then uploading the Zoom onto YouTube. And that's just like a whole, like, step away from the computer for 2 hours and then come back. Okay. Okay, so chat's up, got that, great. Now we'll go back to this, our usually programmed thing. So we're gonna start with, we're gonna do it live as we already know, because I just did it. Not done Facebook yet, maybe we'll do it in the future. I'm not terrible rush for it, but these are plans and loading. You guys already know we can use this. You can use and I plan to eventually take this and turn it into a blog too. So like, because video is great. It's great for search engine optimization, but I think you have to also have like lots of words on there for them to actually connect with. But I don't know that stuff very well. It's just plans for the future. Right now I'm working on routine. Consistency is a big thing. The plan, so Adam Sparks for discussion, we're gonna do that. We're gonna welcome everybody with the intro thing, then attendee intros, then to open discussion and talk about events. That is, well, scrolls the opposite direction. All right, so make inventory flow is what we're gonna talk about today. And the reason we wanna do that is because it is our business, it supplies our business, or it smooths our business. And I think my faces might be in front of this view on YouTube. So let me put it down there, then they can see the words. Anyway, so that's like, whether your business happens to be about actually like organizing, like mine is. So working in people's inventory is kind of my business, but it might also be that you are a product maker, which no one online right now is. It supplies your business. I know that you have, Cody, worked on some different businesses and may actually be involving, we'll talk about those in a moment, may involve like actual supplying. And I have another company I work for that they have like a roofing company, for instance, that I worked with. they have the supplies that they use for their business. But desk jobs and stuff like that, so the other part of my business, that there's inventory. The common example is a pen, if you can actually see it through my fancified visuals. Anyway, that's more like a lightsaber. But those are little things that can get, if they're not done well, it's like grit in the machine. But otherwise, they can make your life really smooth and slide along if we have something really on top of it. So how do we handle it is reflecting on our businesses and seeing where it's hanging up, but not to neglect the parts you actually like about the way your system works, because we often might throw out the baby with the bathwater if we just focus on the problems. So like my system right now is I check the inventory. I try to do something with the inventory at least once a week, and it doesn't always get to the things that are constantly like buzzing in my head. Like I want to get a time timer, and I still haven't gotten one yet. So apparently it's not that big of a thing, but it's one of these dreams to have one of those to help me with my scheduling during the day. Because as you can see, sometimes I have a hard time with schedules. Not my first go-to in my head. And so the way we could fix them is either advanced tech. I wouldn't call it time timer advanced tech, but it's pretty cool. But I was talking to someone last night, and they are a construction business supplier. They make their company makes the epoxies and stuff, and the caulks that go on top of different materials to glue them together. And he has they're switching from an old inventory system, also electronic, to a new electronic inventory system. The old one, the original owners of that business went out of business, so there's no support for it. So that's one of the reasons they're moving on to the other one. And also it's just, new, updated, fancy smancy. And there's also the simple method of just schedule when you're going to look at your business and what things you didn't get or you're running out of. Like one of my things I run out of is green tape. It's one of the things that I mark stuff with. I do painter's tape on the walls or on the materials. So they're labeling them. So as we're sorting them, it makes it a lot quicker and easier to say, oh, I've already decided what that is. We don't have to waste our energy remembering what that is. But if I run out of the green tape, then I have to spend energy on oh, do you have any tape and some paper? And it just messes everything up. But all I have to do is just kind of remember to check into that once a week, and then that's how I handle that. Welcome to Adam's Friday Flow with Entrepreneurs. And if you guys are going to introduce yourself, your name, your company, what you do, all this good stuff. And then if you're going to paste something on there, make sure to use http://www. And that, I guess, I kind of introduced myself, but I'll go ahead and start off. I'm Adam Sparks Sprechtel. My company is Sparks Flow. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so that I don't have that sitting there. Okay, it's Sparks Flow, and what I do is I help people with their businesses so they run more smoothly, so they can enjoy their team more, they enjoy their supplies more, they can enjoy their business more, and then make the cash flow in with them also having more free time. So that's the big goal that I got going on with that. And your go, Mr. Cody.
Hello, I am Cody Pearson, and I'm a principal at Malmo Vimmerby. Let me get this pasted in here.
Yeah.
And what MV does is really focuses on transformation, either with technology integration for small, medium-sized companies, or operations transformations. So that's been everything from helping a company get ready for growth, and then other times it's been getting companies ready for acquisition. So at times we're bolting on more technologies and capabilities, and other times we're unbolting them, getting them optimized for some sort of next step in their life cycle.
Malo Vimmerby. Did I even say that right?
Malmo Vimmerby.
Vimmerby.
Towns in Sweden that my family is from. One's a town.
I have some Swedish heritage. Cool. Thank you. Lisa.
I'm Lisa McGarry. My company is Proficient Financial Management. We help businesses manage their finances, their books, their taxes, their payroll, their planning, their analytics, everything related to their accounting and financial data. And we do all of that for them so that they can focus on managing their growth.
That's great. Thank you. Now I was going to pull up your site. Do you have, oh, you don't like your website.
Please God, don't look at our website. We're currently in the process of getting somebody to redo that for us. And right now it's a long story, but it's not even the website we originally paid for. So.
Oh, and you did a nice process where you looked at websites and decided which ones you liked and then tried to find the people that designed them, right?
Yeah, basically. That's how we did it. I mean, why not? If their websites are nice, then obviously they do good websites. So yeah, that's basically what we did. We just went around looking at different web designers and seeing what they did. We started with other people in our industry, but a lot of people use the same website. So
Don't want to be that.
not really, no.
Well, and your big thing is to not be turnkey so much as to like be really focused on the client and, you know, their specific quirks and the things they like.
Yeah. And that's where you and I think our companies really intersect, is that we're very focused on how the client does things. Obviously, you know, sometimes they can't keep doing things the way that they're doing them for whatever reason. In our case, you know, sometimes because it's just illegal. But yeah, you know, you and I are very focused on making sure that things work for the client, or they're just never going to work.
Yeah, because what the certain mindset and stuff. So, do you see any of that with like the inventory? Do you see that? Do you deal much with the inventory of your clients?
Yeah, we actually have a whole service that revolves around inventory management.
Really?
Yeah. Because we have many clients, some of our clients just sell, but we have clients who do manufacturing as well. So that's a very special inventory animal, because in manufacturing, you know, unless you're a magician, you can't make things from scratch. So, you know, you have to get the materials that you use to turn into the thing that you manufacture from other people, and knowing how much of each component you have is key. So yeah, so we have, so we do that for our manufacturers. We help them manage their materials inventory. Then we have clients who do sales. We have some clients who do like big sales. So they're not doing a lot of volume, but it's a lot of money. So their inventory might only have they may only have 10 different things that they sell in inventory. Some of our clients are e-commerce or retail stores. So obviously there's a ridiculous amount of inventory that we're dealing with there. And so, yeah, one of the things that we do for those clients is we help them get their inventory management system set up, integrate it with their financial software, and then we actually help them keep up with their inventory, because I don't care how clean and how neatly you do everything, somehow inventory is always off just a hair at the end of the quarter. Sometimes it's just shrinkage, you know, like something broke or what have you, but you know, there's still things that need to be adjusted every single time. So yeah, we deal with inventory a lot.
Yeah, so to understand it a little better, you deal with the financial part of it mostly, or you deal with also them figuring out like how to sort it?
So they kind of decide how they want to keep track of it.
Yeah.
Well, how they want to organize it, I guess you would say. We don't do that part because, you know, again, everybody's got a system that works for them.
Yeah.
One of my clients organizes things according to location. So things are organized in different parts of the shop based on what machines will be running those parts.
Yeah.
As an example. But no, we do everything in the software. So we help them get the inventory set up in the software, tracked properly. We're constantly making sure, because inventory is something that's really easy to mess up in accounting.
Really?
Yeah, I spent 6 months tracking down $10,000 because somebody made a minor error.
Huh.
I
never thought about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an accounting thing. So, you know, so we help them keep track of the financials on it, because it's super important to know how much inventory you have. And sometimes you can't do that every day, but at least once a quarter, you know, we tie out the software to the physical inventory and make the adjustments. And then of course we look for variances, and we do all of our, you know, fun little analytics after we get the inventory straight. But it affects everything, you know, it affects ordering. If your inventory software says you're out of something and you're not, then you're going to over order, which could cause problems if it's a perishable item. You know, if you're over ordering something and all of a sudden you have 300 boxes of tortilla chips and you only sell 100 a year, that's going to be a problem, because those don't stay good forever.
Yeah.
We help them figure out if the prices for their supplies have gone up dramatically and maybe they need to start looking for a different supplier.
Ooh.
So you can look and see, okay, well, you know, you were paying $25 per for this, but now all of a sudden you're paying 40. You know, maybe you need to renegotiate a contract, or, you know, something. And it also just affects your financials, you know, how much you're going to pay in taxes, how much it looks like. I once got brought into something that had negative $1 million in inventory. So their financials were not usable to get any kind of financing from any kind of bank, because nobody wants to see negative $1 million of inventory. So
It's a problem.
yeah, so there's so many different aspects on the accounting side to inventory. It's one of the most important aspects. And that's why it's a whole separate like add-on, I guess you could say, because it's almost, it really is a whole separate module. You know, so I don't want to go on too much because it gets boring talking about the accounting for inventory, but you know, in a nutshell, there's a lot that goes into tracking it beyond, you know, just, and that's why it's so important in every business. Like everybody's like, oh, we got to do inventory, and everybody's like, but it has to be done.
So how much, thank you, Lisa. So Cody, how much does, I'm gonna try it again, Malmo Villenbe, or you can talk about previous businesses.
Vimmerby. It's just phonetic.
What's that?
It's just phonetic pronunciation. It's Vimmerby. There's no weirdness. What was your question?
How does Malmo Vimmerby actually affect? Like, what do you do do you do inventory there? You're an executive, you said.
No, yeah, we do. MV doesn't hold inventory. You know, we do consulting. So, I mean, we don't hold inventory at all, I mean, which is great. You know, I mean, yeah. Oh, Also to maybe, just to clarify things, there's a difference. You were referring to a pen earlier. That would be referred to as an asset, not
Oh.
from inventory.
Not really from an accounting perspective, a pen would not be considered an asset.
Right. But,
Oh.
Yeah.
thing.
Discussion.
So you can go into the details about how that hits the books from a pen versus something that you can capitalize versus.
You know what? Yeah, I was just messing with you.
But it needs.
Yeah. Cody is technically correct. It is not inventory because inventory is something that you're going to sell to others. Unless you run office supplies, in which case pens would be inventory.
Way to find a loophole. So you guys in the big biz, there is inventory doesn't apply to like tools in the workshop.
Assets.
Really? Huh. All right. So one of the reasons that I've kind of lumped it in that is because my business coach had kind of talked about, she'd broken it into 5 different categories, any business to 5 different categories, and inventory was one of them. And I think she just kind of put these in there as one of these things that we do. So that's good for me to know as someone who's working with businesses that when I talk about inventory, if I want to strictly use the term, I should be only talking about things that are actually like selling in the business.
Yeah, so that would be the feedstock. Like Lisa said, the feedstock, the components that go into whatever you're assembling.
Uh-huh.
What you're assembling and what you plan to sell. And then Lisa, do we want to get into the
Please.
OpEx versus CapEx from an accounting perspective? That hits differently too.
We can, but I fear Adam's head will explode.
That's fine. I'm a smart guy.
Well, it makes even my people's heads explode when we have our update classes. So
Give me a try. Come on. OpEx.
I guess I would say in a nutshell, the question is, are you going to expense it in the current year or are you going to expense it out over a period of multiple years? So like this pen, I'm definitely going to expense it this year. Well, I think I may have actually expensed this last year, but whatever. On the other hand, if you buy, like one of my clients just bought an additional truck they're in specialty trades, so they have multiple trucks for their technicians. They just bought another work truck for another one of their technicians. So we're going to expense that out over a period of 5 years and not just this year.
Okay.
So assets that have a larger value are typically expensed over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Accrual
We
accounting.
won't get into special depreciation. We'll just leave that alone.
Probably, if you've ever heard of accrual accounting versus cash accounting, Adam,
Okay.
kind of the decision fork that needs to be made so you can do those types of.
Some of it is based on that, although depreciation, for some of my clients, depreciation is because a lot of my clients are cash basis, not all, but a lot, because most of my clients I've had since the day they started their companies, and most companies start out on the cash basis just because it's easier, right? And then eventually some of them switch to accrual, and then some of my clients are like, no, I really like being on the cash basis because they understand it. And whatever, it's their business, and if it's making sense for them, and if it's not causing, because we flip things and we're like, this is what it would look like on the accrual basis for you. And some of my clients are like, ooh, let's do that. So basically cash versus accrual is pretty straightforward. Cash is basically how you live your life. You recognize income when you receive it. So when you actually get the money, and you recognize an expenditure when you pay the money. Accrual is you recognize the income as soon as you create the invoice and send it to the client.
Oh,
And you recognize an expense when you get the bill.
cool.
Instead, not necessarily when you pay it.
So this is so we're talking about inventory in this case. We're talking to financial folks. They're going to say inventory is in a certain category, and then there's also assets. Is there
Yes.
another category that financial folk would talk about, or business folk?
We could get into the whole breakdown of types of assets.
Okay.
Debt, how you carry debt. There's that one thing on this.
There's also liabilities.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I hear that term. Everyone's talking about you got your car is a liability and your house is an asset. That's not business exactly, but it could be. Just
So in business, a liability is money that you owe.
yeah.
That could be anything from, I paid my employees on Friday, my payroll taxes are due on Monday, so I have a liability, a payroll tax liability at the moment.
So on the level of inventory, asset, liability, and debt, is there another category that we're missing?
Cost of goods sold, which is an expense. So when inventory comes into the company, see, now we made his head explode, yay. When inventory comes into the company, it's an asset. When it gets sold, the portion of it that is the cost turns into an expense.
Okay. Cost of goods sold. Wow. That's okay. So that's that thing. So in the sense, like, so with my, if I'm working with people with tools,
Yeah.
okay, they're bringing those tools in. So that would be asset.
Wait. Are they selling tools or are they using the tools?
A construction company.
So they're using the tools.
Yes.
Okay, the tools are assets.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's good to know. Now, I've also heard the term collateral. Is that the same as assets then?
So you go to one of those title loan stores and you give them your title in exchange for a loan. The car, the title is therefore collateral.
Yeah.
The car is your asset.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't have a title loan.
Yeah.
You still have a car. The car is still your asset.
Yes, but they can collect it at any time.
Collateral comes from your assets, but not all assets are collateral. They can and may not necessarily be able to be used for collateral. Like for instance, if you're still paying off your car, you can't really use it as collateral for something else necessarily.
Someone told me that and I think it was just for ease of the conversation, that they said, like, you know, my business cards or my pen or maybe the laptop are, you know, collateral, but it's like, I don't think anyone's gonna take that as collateral.
Not in an accounting sense.
Yeah,
So
okay.
there's the other term of use of collateral. Marketing collateral is brochures, business
There
cards.
you go.
Completely different, same word, different meaning and intent.
Oh my goodness.
Don't you love English?
So I'm talking to someone in marketing, they're gonna talk about something else.
Yes.
Collateral is just, you know, the creative pieces that you produce.
Okay, that makes sense because the person I was talking to was a marketing type person. Marketing collateral versus financing collateral. Oh my goodness. So I know my homework. Anyway, because that was one of the things that kind of threw me. I was like, okay, well, I'll talk about that. Anyway, so so organizing assets is, do you guys use certain inventory for organizing assets that's different than using for inventory? Because I'll give an example of what I've done. So I haven't actually worked with inventory in the strict sense, as far as like making a business work yet. I've talked to some people about it, but I haven't quite stepped into that realm. But I've done a lot of asset organizing apparently, because I'm organizing tools and I'm organizing that space and, you know, desks and things like that. So I made a spreadsheet And that was what I made for this, because I just really didn't have access to much of any other ideas at the time. And I was comfortable with spreadsheets. So I made it so they could log in, find social security numbers, social securities. What's that number?
Serial numbers.
Serial numbers, thank you. Serial numbers on the tool, and they could confirm that this tool has not been swapped out by one of their, you know, untrusted employees or, you know, whatever, and that they all have all the stuff they wanted. That was a big focus with this person, was that they just wanted to know that they weren't losing their materials to their employees.
There's software for that. Besides a spreadsheet, there's software for it. It's called Fixed Asset Manager.
Oh,
There's different kinds, but if you search for a fixed asset manager, that's what you want. A lot of accounting software. So like if your clients are using, depending on what accounting platform your clients are using,
yeah.
There might be a fixed asset manager already inside or as an add-on to the software.
Okay.
Like for instance, QuickBooks has a fixed asset manager.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. So this is a type of thing. It's not an actual. It's not an.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's just, there's a bunch of different types. And like I said, the first thing we always do is check to see if whatever the client is using for their accounting platform, well, usually we know, but sometimes they're using something that we haven't seen yet, and we'll check to see if they have a fixed asset manager. You don't want the ones that are for the tax side necessarily. There are ones that hook into the accounting platform.
So in QuickBooks, there's a thing, or Intuit.
Okay. Well, that would be the first one that comes up, but that's, you know, they put a lot of money into their SEO.
Yeah.
But yeah, so fixed asset managers are a thing, especially for companies that have a lot of assets to keep track of.
Yeah.
Then, you know, in their QuickBooks file or whatever, we'll hook in the fixed asset manager for them to keep track of it, because, you know, that is a thing.
So Cody, you've mentioned Robert Half before, and it's saying here there's fixed asset manager, but I don't think they're talking about a program. I think they're talking about a person.
Yeah.
So it could be a program, it could be a person.
It's a concept. The entire thing is a concept.
Oh. So is fixed asset as different than a different type of asset?
Yes.
Would there be a different program for that?
Most of the other assets are going to be tracked in. So other assets are things like your checking account, your savings account, money that is owed to you. So your receivables are an asset.
Okay. Wow. That's good. So that wouldn't. I'm trying to think about my topic of inventory and not trying to go too far.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the rest of it is all like not stuff that you would.
Yeah.
So
it would track in the accounting software.
Adam, what answer or what is your question?
I'm enjoying the conversation, but that's my main thing. But it's just like, this is stuff I didn't know. And you know, when I'm talking about inventory, like I'm thinking like simple methods, or like, you know, I talked to a person last night. I think I've mentioned it before, with this construction supply company that they supply materials for construction companies. And they had software that would connect it into QuickBooks since we're talking about financial sides of things at the moment, it connected into QuickBooks so that they could, you know, keep track of their money coming in and out of it. But then it also kept track of the materials they were making and all this other stuff. But I'm just kind of like, also, I just don't know what's out there. And so if that was when I was talking to him, that was my big question. Is like, so he had the thing, something called Prelude. And it was funny because the Prelude was then being preluded. It was being taken over. So it was a prelude to whatever they were going into next. And I forgot the name of it. But those were two systems that he was accustomed to using. But if I'm working with someone, like I would just start with a spreadsheet. That's my go-to spreadsheet. Or if it's not that big, they'd have sort of a paper system. But I guess that's what I'm asking is, have you guys used different software that you know about, or has it always been built in-house?
To manage inventory?
Yeah.
Oh my, so a lot of it depends on the industry. Honestly, for my clients, because different inventory management systems are better for different industries. And if they're a retail or an e-commerce, then we're going to want to use some sort of point of sale that has an inventory management on the back end. So that's another consideration I would just throw out there, that what industry they're in is definitely going to make
affect that.
That's going to be a major consideration in choosing an inventory management platform for them, because I guarantee you, I do not have my manufacturers on the same platform that I have my retail sellers on.
Yeah. So Cody, do you have do you do consulting on inventory with companies, or how's that go?
Just the overarching thing that we haven't touched on yet, that's just here on the webpage, just to help you kind of start with a route to start branching off, is that ERP acronym. That's Enterprise Resource Planning. So that is a heavy lifter. Those are more sophisticated solutions, Microsoft Dynamics and Oracle. You can look at, for the Gartner Magic Quadrant ERP for this year, and they'll kind of show you the top 3, top 5 of the enterprise resource planning suites. But don't overcomplicate things for your small business owner.
Yeah.
If they literally have 10 sledgehammers and a wheelbarrow,
right?
A piece of paper will suffice.
Well, and I'll give you another example. I'm referring to this roofing company because that's the one I actually, they asked for something, but the other I haven't had to use this stuff before. Usually what I do, and I just come in and help them move stuff. Like, so the vacuum excavation company, what we do is we've got 5 different buildings, all kinds of tools, all kinds of hardware, 5 trucks, and we don't have any mechanical system or electronic system to keep track of those things. And it has to do with his relationship with his employees too, and with his tools. It's like, if they start stealing stuff, well, they're fired, but also it's like not that big of a thing for him. He's got bigger things to think about, So it's just not on his radar to be concerned about. So yeah, I agree that there's, for a lot of companies, the inventory electronically or asset electronically isn't a top priority for them. It's more of the maneuvering it and like how you store it and how it's accessible to their people. And that's one of the things that I get to specialize in, is actually making things accessible, reasonable. And so when the team comes in, if they're new, it should make pretty good sense pretty quickly. And if they're in a hurry, it should also make sense, so that they can just get it to it where it needs to go, or at least in the right direction. So it's an easier mess to clean up. So you spend more time creating stuff.
Yeah, I mean, not that you want to do it on live video or whatever, but feel free to circle back if you just give us the scale. If it's offline, give us the scale of what you're talking about with one of your clients, and just.
Yeah. I don't have someone right now looking for anything. It was more, this is a topic that I picked a while ago that's on my docket, and so I'm talking about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of automation in play right now for how one wants to do it, and always start. It's the acronym, not keep it simple stupid. It's keep it simple and scalable. So you want to keep it as possible, but with the foresight, can you scale this out to a 10x or 100x at the same time?
Yeah. And that was the thing with the what was the document, the spreadsheet. I didn't feel like that was like, if they did grow a whole bunch, I wasn't sure how that would be really the tool they wanted, but it worked great for their purposes.
Yeah, and that any tool you would select, you could just ingest that Excel sheet you already have and probably not cost you that much time to kind of translate that.
Yeah, and it would have been cool. Like I enjoyed making the spreadsheet, that kind of stuff. Just I enjoy that kind of thing. But I also was hoping like that there would be like this ability for me to just say to the client, "There's this tool I can teach you on," you know, and then they can like it has another service of its own that can maintain that for them. Whereas a spreadsheet, if it messes up, I'm the one that knows how I coded the thing, and they could possibly figure it out, but they'd kind of have to contact me again. That's fine, but that wasn't my goal. So that's kind of, and it wasn't that complicated, like, you know, formulas in a spreadsheet, simple stuff. So, but yeah. Yeah, so when I was thinking of inventory, there are companies, and there is one that I talked to that that's like going to be their own thing, and they're going to be actually creating their own inventory system. So, and when we're talking inventory, they're actually talking about inventory in the financial sense, which was new to me. And because I'd mentioned, and explains why there was confusion when we were talking, because I was like, oh yeah, I've done inventory before. I guess I haven't. That's cool to know. Okay, well, that's good. It's good. These are little lessons that we get, little nuggets, you know. So how do you handle the assets then in your business? Like, is there something you really like about the way you handle your assets? And is there anything that like is a kind of a hang up with it? For instance, with me.
Do we, Lisa?
What's that?
I was like, Lisa, we probably don't carry that many assets on our books other than the bank accounts.
Right.
Oh, okay. But like your day, and this is kind of the point that I was, because for me, a lot of my clients, their assets aren't book assets. Like, you know, you wouldn't put pens on your assets that much, I don't think, depending on how many you get. Like I've got 5 pens, you know. Do I put that on my assets? Okay.
No, your accountant will kill you.
Yeah.
Right. So on that sort of sense, though, I guess I'm not too sure how to. So this is kind of good for me to kind of clarify when I'm talking about inventory more than anything, which is not what I expected to be talking about. It's great. I'm happy, but I just like, oh, okay, well, that's good to know. But the simple, like, for instance, though, like I was talking about the tape that I use this simple painter's tape when I come and label things. A lot of people like to use label makers, or at least they think label makers, but that's not my thing, because you can't see the label maker unless you're right next to the label it made, you know? So that's the reason I like using the tape, because I can see it across the room, and when we're sorting a space out, I can look across and see it. Now, there was one time I was on a site and I lost my tape in the mess. It was the worst. And so like I had to go home, like the next day when I came back, I had to go and buy more tape and bring it back. But if I'd had some on stock at home, I wouldn't have been an extra trip. I would just come home, I'd have picked it up, thrown it in my bag, and brought it with me. Or even better, had an extra one in my bag now that I know I can lose it in the stuff. But those are like examples of how little tweaks of what we've been doing can make like a little bit of just a bit of difference. So that was kind of the big thing when you're asking what I was talking about. That was the kind of the big thing that was in my mind. But I knew that the guests on the show were going to have different things going on. So yeah, that's funny. So what about computers? They'd be an asset, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, but maybe that particular conversation's dead.
What do you mean?
Well, in our little discussion here, I'm thinking, well, like, all right, so we've kind of covered that stuff. Maybe there's not much more for you to talk about there. I am curious, Cody, you dealt with another company at one point that you said down here in Albuquerque, and you did a lot of like, you know, asset I don't think inventory so much, but I'm not sure, asset maneuvering to streamline their business or liquidate their business. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe liquidating some assets.
Yeah, that was just not really. It wasn't liquidating. It was just really getting it optimized for acquisition, and it was like it wasn't like it was not a sellout type of thing. It was just getting it fit, so it just looked to be the most attractive as it was being shopped around, and so we just wanted to make it very portable, because what you have during a diligence process is, potential buyers going through your books and seeing, what's on the books. And through the years were things like metal shears and benders, like, things that are 8 feet wide and 1,000 pounds,
Yeah.
that were purchased and used for an experiment 10 years prior. So it was those types of things. Then you also kind of get into, from a software perspective and asset management, and kind of like what your IT library looks like, would be like taking a look at software licenses, your current licenses that you are indeed paying dollars for every year. And then you just take a look at, is that part of the current workflow? Or can that be reproduced using a simpler tool or more affordable tool, and just start going through that? I mean, that's the type, really, with leading operations or consulting on operations. A lot of the times that I've stepped into companies, it's to do an optimization exercise. So it's really that, taking a look at the hard physical assets.
Mm-hmm.
And that extends all the way over to kind of software licenses and those types of things.
Yeah, and I have to say that's kind of what when you started talking about IT and the workflow, that's like the kind of thing that really perks my interest, because that's what I really like to think about, is like, how's it involved in the workflow, and is there something better, or can we just tweak what we have?
Right. So, there's not really an approach to that, other than the more you do it, the better you become at identifying areas of improvement, because it's always a one-off, very customized scenario that you're working through.
Yeah. And that's I think what both of you guys, and I do too, but both of you guys kind of specialize in, is when you're working with different companies, then you really pay attention to what that particular group needs, or that particular person wants, and how to make their systems flow for them, in the inventory sense. Yeah.
We're all consultants. We're all consulting. We're all listening to the story, identifying, the area of improvement or an opportunity.
Yeah.
And, the value we're providing is to either mitigate that risk or help capitalize on that opportunity. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. And then, we're coming around to the ends here too, but Lisa, so when you're working with people, you've seen that sometimes they're not doing the money part of the assets or their inventory very well, having, possibly $1 million negative. Have you ever connected that with also the way that their actual space flows with their stuff? Or you talk to that at all?
Sometimes we find that because they're not organized, maybe they have a whole, I can't tell you the number of clients who we have to just inventory because they found boxes that had been put somewhere where they didn't belong, or because they inherited is not quite the right word, but sometimes I serve companies instead of clients. So like, I'll get, clients instead of companies. So like some of my clients, they'll buy a company, I'll work with them through that company, and then they go buy another company. And sometimes what we'll find is, like, a lot of times a bunch of inventory that the previous owner maybe wasn't even aware that they had, because they, they put it somewhere, they forgot about it. And I mean, that happens a lot, especially because in the businesses that I'm dealing with, the even with my companies that have 50 employees, the owners are still having to take part in some of the day-to-day.
Yeah.
So things just kind of, get pushed off and you forget about something. And then, I mean, we've even done it here, my office manager will order pens and then, or she'll buy Post-it notes. And then I'll use what I think is the last Post-it note and be like, hey, buy more Post-it notes. Thankfully, she's on it. So she'll be like, did you know that there's like a whole other thing of Post-its in, so, she stays pretty on top of it, which is great, but not everybody has, an office manager like mine or an office manager, period. And so they end up buying the same things like over and over and over again. So yeah, part of it is us. So that's where for us, the software comes in, where we, where we're like, okay, well, you need to figure, like maybe you need to get filing cabinets, or not filing cabinets, but like those, I don't know, what are those big metal, those big metal cabinets that you store things in offices. I don't know, some of my clients have them. They're like, they have doors that open out. They're really cool, but anyway, and then we get them to keep things in one place and then rely on the reports coming out of the software to know when to order inventory. So if they look at inventory and inventory says they should have 50 and they don't have 50 where it belongs, then either we know there's been a breakdown in the process or somebody didn't record something. So that's kind of our check and we use that as a check and balance, I guess.
Yeah.
But as far as helping them organize, that's not.
No, that's fine.
Most of the time, we're not even on site. Like there are some clients I've never even met.
Those are great
in person.
Yeah.
Because so helping them organize their facilities is difficult when we're not physically there.
Oh yeah.
And also it's definitely not
yeah.
Our area of expertise. I mean, I'm not saying we're not organized, but.
Well, those were really good points you brought up about like that you have a system to check on it. And I think Cody might have some things to say about this. But while you were talking, it reminded me when I lived and worked in a homeless shelter for 5 years, we had this food bank. And what we do is this would keep the people who lived with us, they would keep them active and have a sense of purpose, but it would also help us keep track of what was going on because it's a food bank. You get all sorts of random things. So what we do is that we just spend an evening moving everything around. Oh, we're gonna just redesign this room. And so we'd move all the food from like all these shelves over here to all these shelves over here, out of this cooler, and then just over here, and then back into the cooler, and that sort of thing. And some people might see it as busy work, but it was essential because we were dealing with so many random things. And there was my father, Carr, who I was working with. He had no desire to put it on a computer. It was not his deal, which was fine because it worked well. We had manpower and we were able to move things around. And that was how we kept track of inventory and then in that location. I forgot about that. But yeah, lost boxes and stuff. Dried milk that has been in these boxes over here, and it just got buried by another set of stuff that got in front of it. So constantly moving was a system using there. We didn't even use any technology. That's cool. Thanks for reminding me about that.
Stock rotation. There you go. Not only even materials have shelf lives, plastics, chemicals have shelf lives. You definitely need to have stock rotation as part of the inventory management approach.
That's great. Yeah.
I do need to jump. Call at the top.
Thank you, Cody.
You guys take care. Good seeing you as always.
You
Cody,
too.
before you go, there's one thing that you might want to kind of show. Coming up, there's Stacy Sacco has something coming up, but then there's also a nice happy hour. Boom, boom, boom. Come on. A happy hour, K virtual happy hour. You can find it on Meetup. Kick-ass entrepreneurs. They usually tell a story. And then Stacy is going to be doing this mixing, but it hasn't been scheduled yet. But those are things going on. I'll talk more about them. But have a great day.
Take care.
I can also post those links real quick. Yep. Bye.
Yeah.
So have you you've been attended in the Kick-ass happy hours, Lisa?
No, I don't think so. Sometimes I just can't go if they coincide with client meetings or staff meetings or whatever.
Yeah, these are usually after hours. I'll post the links in the chat here. I've been faster about it but whatever. So let's see, and then if I open up the chat.
To be fair, I have clients in 4 different time zones, so after
Oh.
hours is an interesting term.
That's a good point. Yeah, plus your day just doesn't start until 10 anyway. So
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So yeah, everyone's like, oh, it's,
yeah, so you know about 1 million cups already.
yeah.
There's that, but so that one's gonna take a while to load. Do I have the Kick-ass one up? No, I don't. Okay, so there's something you might be interested in is this a mix at 6. Have you met Stacy yet?
No, I
Sacco?
don't think so.
He is quite a character, and he is an educator, but he also is like he's been called the #1 guy to have lunch with. So I would encourage you looking this guy up and just saying hi and that you're new to the area, and he'll make some really cool connections for you.
Okay.
Because that's what he loves to do. But he's had these events in the past, and he's going to do another mix at 6, he said, at the Activate New Mexico. He sort of blurted it out right at the end, or chatted it out at the end of the webinar. But then I didn't see him in the activity in the middle, or the activity with the Remo. But he said he's working on getting another one going, which is cool. I don't know when that's going to happen. And he's going to have it online this time, of course.
That's what I was wondering, because
Yeah. All the stuff I'm talking about in here is online. I'm not advertising anything in person yet.
right.
Well, I'll hopefully make a big distinction when that day comes. But right now he was talking about doing this online, so that's kind of cool. But it's a good comment too. I've mentioned him before because he has a list of like events.
Oh yeah, the New Mexico Net Links.
So he's the one that puts that together, and so he has office hours at the Rainforest, Lobo Rainforest, which is UNM, our local university, one of our local universities, that has, I guess, it's the only university. It's not the only school.
Right.
Anyway, but Lobo Rainforest is one of their extensions.
Oh yeah.
He's there, and he's a big part of the small business stuff they do. So he's a good one to contact, just to say hi and tell him you're in the area. And he's real jovial, and he'll talk your ear off. It's great. So, and then Adams Friday Flows, of course, coming up. And then, let's go back to this thing here. What else can I click on? I like clicking things. It makes me feel like I got something to show. And so this is interesting. This Kick-ass entrepreneurs thing. So they do this once a month, apparently, where they have a story time. They started going virtual 2 months ago. They'd taken a hiatus in the meantime, but this is not the right one. Did I click on the wrong one? Oh, I clicked on the wrong one, apparently. So I just gave the same one. Oh, it should be. I don't know. Anyway, it's going to get there possibly. But they're doing this thing where let's see, Kick-ass entrepreneurs. meetup. So they usually have a story of entrepreneurs. They tell the story of the entrepreneur thing. And there isn't a whole bunch of networking exactly happening during that. So that's like, it's nice to hear the stories and I like it. And you kind of show your face and you sort of build community. And in this time, anything that you can kind of get out there and sort of build a community is just amazing.
Right.
But it's also limited. This one, she explains, and this is the host, Melanie. And this one, she explained it. And it took me a while to really figure out what she was trying to say. But they're doing a happy hour instead, where you can order out something, and they're Santa Fe, so for local for them might be slightly different for you and me. And she gives a list of, she gives a list of different places that you could go to that have given talks, like told their story with them before. And that's what most of that is. But it's just, order out something, show up, and then you're going to talk about where you ordered. So everyone will have a chance to talk, which is kind of like more interactive, which is kind of cool. So I think this would be really worth your time if you can make it. And it's
I'll have to see. Yeah.
I don't know, what time is this thing?
It's 6:30.
Oh, yeah, that's like, you still haven't wrapped up your day yet, huh?
Yeah, no, not even close.
Wow. Okay, then 1 million cups, and then which you can attend. And then next week for Friday Flow, our topic is going to be about organizing your space, says.
All right.
So one of the reasons I say spaces is because one of it is your actual physical space, which is kind of what I was talking about today, but also then your mental space, right? But that's we'll see how that works next week. But as I wrap up here, so I'm trying to figure out like what's the nice thing to say at the end of this, like this really like catchy and like strong, but the ROI is the why. I thought that sounded pretty smart. And it really is. The reason we're doing this is because we're trying to bring something back to the people that are investing in us, and also investing in ourselves, having the return on what we're investing our time and our energy into. So keep the sparks flowing, and thanks again for coming. We'll see you, Lisa.
Next week.